Hello and welcome. Now to this time a topic, no poems, since you've most of the time you guys have seen me in the dark when I was reciting my poems, and now I'm out. So on this beautiful afternoon, let's talk about a topic which is very dear to me, which is called the human condition. How does one define the human condition? Are we talking about just the life cycle of a human being, which is birth, growth, adolescence, reproduction, you know, elderly life, and then finally death? Or do we also talk about the thought processes that are there in between, which could be love, which could be hope, which could mean depression, which could also be confusion, and let's say everything else that's building up to who and what we are today. Have you ever realized that while growing up, there were certain teachings, be them by your parents, be them by your teachers, be it by your peers, which is not much of a teaching, more of a friendly advice, or be it of anyone else whom you thought was a mentor. So you grew up with, let's say, fixed ideas. But have you ever stopped and pondered as to what you've learned till now? Is it actually true? Does it actually make sense in today's day and age? Will it hold its weight against water? Would you be able to describe, or should I say, would you be able to defend your point of view? This is what we want to talk about today. Many things that happen in our lives, many things that we listen to, hear to, shape us to be the individuals that we are today. Sometimes these are thought processes, sometimes these are just thoughts, which turn into thought processes. They could pertain to religion, they could pertain to social behavior, they could pertain to social norms, they could pertain to corporate attire, they could pertain to the usage of language also. But of late, the one thing that I've noticed a lot is tons of misunderstandings. Not to mention the bushels of ego that come along with it. It's not necessary and it's not mandatory for your viewpoint to be the best viewpoint that there is. It's important for all of us as human beings to be flexible in our thought processes, in the way we act, in the way we talk to others, in the way we treat others. Nowadays, social media has been the best way to either criticize or congratulate someone. Criticism being more on the heavy side. Congratulations are pretty less. The moment you realize that your viewpoint doesn't match the other person's viewpoint, you immediately start sending out messages calling the other person an idiot, saying like, okay, you misinterpreted the video, that you didn't understand this, you didn't understand that, and going on the defensive in a second. Here's where I'd like to change a few things. Here's where I'd like to question you. If you know something, that doesn't make you a super intellect. And if another person doesn't know something, that doesn't make him a village idiot either. Have you ever tried to actually reason out with a person calmly, quietly, kindly? No. Nowadays it's not in our nature. Hate and megalomania, actually, is what is the most prominent of all characteristics. When we talk about culture, many times we've seen people who say, like, no, this doesn't happen in our culture. This doesn't happen in our culture. And in India, since we have so many states, the so-called, like we call cultural diversity, as we call it, is huge. How do you define culture? Is culture pure? Is culture, how do I put this? Is it just known to one person? Or, like, is culture just branded on someone? You need to understand that culture, in the meaning of the word culture, means a conglomeration or the mixture of other cultures is what makes a culture. When we talk about language, many times we understand that English is a business language, but many people prefer to have an upper hand by speaking in Hindi, which I fail to understand. When they say, like, that Hindi is our mother tongue. Well, according to the Constitution, it's not Hindi, it's the Devanagari script. When you're in Uttar Pradesh, every 15 kilometers, the dialect of Hindi will change. So I guess it's important for you to understand. It's important to be flexible also. It's important to understand the other person's viewpoint also. Being rigid is not the way forward. Let's take religion, for example. What we read in the books, what we know from the holy books, the teachings that are there in the holy books. There's still a lot of people who not only misrepresent but also misconstrue what was written. It's not bad to have a belief. In fact, on the contrary, it's very important that you should have a belief system. In that belief system, don't you think it's pertinent to also be flexible? To allow other walks of religion from, or let's say other types of beliefs to come in. Don't you think it's more pertinent to be more understanding and more patient? Don't get sucked up in the game of politics. Don't get sucked up in the game of politics. It's ironical. It's really ironical sometimes. If, I'll give you a small example. For example, there was an India-Pakistan match. It's basically a war between two countries. But it's being fought in the living rooms of people in front of televisions. We generally don't, like, even though we are neighbors, we still have that angst against each other. Ironically, if a Pakistani goes to England and an Indian goes to England, they'll both be looking for each other. They might also end up seeing each other and, like, kind of saying, like, my brother. It's so ironic. Pakistan was a part of erstwhile Punjab, right? Let's take the language Bengali. When we talk about, let's say, Bengali, you have Rabindranath Tagore, the poems of Rabindranath Tagore, Rabindra Sangeet, as they call it, the books written by literary geniuses from Bengal. Did you ever stop and ponder where do the vowels in the Bengali language come from? They have their roots in Farsi, Iran. Everything that we have has come from some place or the other. And also, what other countries have also come from us. It's always import, export, exchange of goods, commodities. We do that nowadays with our neighbors in the smallest kind of way. When we exchange food items sometimes. Doesn't that build relations? When you stop to talk at a stranger sometimes, probably even in a coffee shop, when you ask him like, can I sit next to you? And the person responds in the affirmative. Of course, you do sit down, you start talking about some random thing, and you never know, you may even exchange numbers. What I'm trying to say here, these are not wayward thoughts. These are not wayward thoughts. These are things that are interconnected with each other. We as people need people to survive. Irrespective of caste, race, religion, body type, skin type, hair type, or whatever have you. We need to sit down, think, contemplate, and start joining the pieces together, to come together to make this country a beautiful place. Not just this country, to make the world a beautiful place. When you have foreigners coming over to India, what do we do? Do we treat them as humans, or do we treat them as Mr. or Miss Moneybags? Running after them. Yes, there are people, who stop and talk to foreigners as if they were as if they are human beings. I'm sorry for saying as if they are human beings. This is not some kind of I'm not trying to point fingers here. All I'm trying to say is that's the way it's supposed to be. They too are human. They've come to your country. They want to explore your country. Of course, in retrospect, I know a lot of people who would say, but then if we go abroad, this is how we are treated. Do you know why? Because they're just reciprocating the way you treated them. And when I say you, I don't mean you per se. I mean your people. Necessity is the mother of invention. Desperation is the father of destruction. So let's not try to be desperate in trying to make an impression. Do you know who you are? Do you know your roots? What if, let's take a hypothetical situation here. What if you didn't have a name? Like one of my poems in which I had written, which was like faceless. What if you actually didn't have a name? You're not going to come under any brand now, are you? When I say brand, I mean you're not of any one religion. You're not a Parsi, you're not a Sikh, you're not a Hindu, you're not a Muslim, you're not a Christian, you're not a Jaini, you're not anyone. You don't have a surname. Like in Amir Khan's movie, what was it? The one in which he's an alien. He doesn't know where to run to, doesn't know where to go. I'm forgetting the name, but I'm damn sure you guys would you guys would know which movie I'm talking about. See how confused he was in that film? When he went to a church, he was told that he need wine to be gifted. So he thought that's the way it's supposed to be everywhere. So that's why he went to a mosque and immediately was chased by millions of people because according to Islam, alcohol is haram. He didn't know. He did not know. These three words, I don't know, is what will help you grow. The day you realize that, the day you think that I know everything, your growth stops and your generation suffers. This is what happened to us, this is what happened to our forefathers, and this is how we should pay back in the same coin. No, you don't need to do that. You can change things for the better. You can stop and think, okay, if this is what happened in the past, maybe I should not repeat this. This is why there's a phrase in English that says, history repeats itself. Why do you say history repeats itself? Because people still don't learn from their mistakes. A mistake made once is a mistake. A mistake made twice is a mistake. A mistake made thrice is a habit. That is then no longer a mistake. Then there's something definitely wrong with you. When we talk about, let's say, the LGBTQ community, for example, now we are pretty wary of this community. Why? This has been there from time immemorial, when there were kings and rulers and emperors. Who do you think the confidants were? The confidants were not their own kin, their own children, their own wives or concubines. Their confidants were the eunuchs or the transvestites. Today, when you see a eunuch on the road, would you actually go up to that person? I hope you realize what I just said. To that person. I did not say, would you go to it? It is not an it. It is a person who is now shunned by society. Oh yes, you definitely call them to dance at weddings. Or if you have a new arrival, at your house, or be it a baby for that matter. Right? Here's something very ironical. You run away from them otherwise. But the moment you feel that, all right, I have financial blockages, things aren't working for me, and some baba or some tantric tells you, if you want to improve your situation, try to get money from a eunuch. Oh, now you're going running, trying to look for them now. Why? Because it's in your interest. When we use the word prostitute, we use it very loosely. We use it to sometimes define a woman of loose character. Think twice, please. Prostitutes are the people who are keeping the wolves at bay from the women of your household. You may not respect them, but come Durga Puja in Kolkata. Do you know what is the material that is used to make the goddess Durga? It is the mud of a brothel. Many of you might, say like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Why don't you read up on it? You read so many other things. Read up on this too. And there are many other things also which I'd like to point out here. The topic being the human condition also refers to the way a human is today. Every morning, people wake up early, get ready, send their children off to school, go off to work, you know, come back home, the child comes back from school, and life carries on. That's all that there is in life today. When was the last time that you just sat down and talked to your people? When I say your people, means your family. You're so busy making money. What are you making? Who are you making the money for? Your wife is waiting for you at home. Ever asked her how her day was? Your day may have been shit, but have you asked her how her day was? Likewise, ladies, when your husband comes back home, you already know how his day would have been. Just be there for him for a while. Kids have a lot of expectations from parents, but kids also are now no longer kids. I'm sorry to say this. Parents are so busy, and if they want to keep their child busy, they'll give them a mobile, or they'll give them a video game, or give them something else. You do what you do, just don't disturb me at this point. You do realize that there'll come a time when you want their attention, and then they'll give you something to keep you busy. That's not what you want. You want them. I was watching an interview of Dharmender ji, and he was talking about um, his son. Um, and he kept on asking him, Sonny, his son Sonny, he was asking him, like, you're always busy, you're always off for shoots in the morning, or again, you come home late at nights. And Sonny's like, I can't help it. I've got such a busy schedule. And he said, that's all fine, but spend some time with me too. Dharmender ji, one of the greatest actors of his time. So it doesn't matter who you are and where you are. loneliness, loneliness does creep in. Yes, we all have our good days and bad days. We all have our ups and downs. Irrespective of what we have, good or bad, can we make someone's life better? You can ask, like, हमारे पास तो पैसे नहीं, how can you make someone's life better? You don't need money to make someone's life better. If you see someone crying on the road, or there's a fight in the road, can you intervene? Can you stop that fight? Can you utter two words of kindness to both the parties and just walk away? You don't have to give your card. Just walk away. You find somebody depressed, you can just ask them, like, can I buy you a cup of coffee? Please don't misconstrue what I'm saying, because I know exactly what you people might be thinking. But today it's called stalking. You don't know. Maybe the other person might think you're there to kidnap them. And that's what I'm trying to change. Now, that's the mindset that's happened now. There used to be so much of belief, so much of cooperation in the days of yore. What's happened now? You can't blame this on the present regime. You can't blame this on the government all the time. You need to change this within yourself. It's like what John F. Kennedy had once said. Ask not what the country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. So it's the countrymen that make the country. It's you, as a people, different states, different beliefs, different everything. But yes, we have one heart, that we're humans. Please don't think of this episode as the rantings of a lunatic. But think of this as a person who has seen the human condition deteriorate. When was the last time you stood on your balcony, looked at your neighbor and said, "Good morning. What's happening? All good? You okay?" Now, you see your neighbor and you'll be like, "Okay, I need to see that face in the morning." Why? I know it's hard. I know it's hard. I know it's hard. It's not easy. Even the word love has changed. The usage of love depends on what you can get from a person. It doesn't exactly mean love. What do you mean by love? Love is something that is unselfish. You want to see true love? Go sit in nature. You'll see true love. If someone pinches you, you start getting furious, you start getting angry. You're like, dude, what the? But when you're sitting under a mango tree, you go and you pluck mangoes. So if you're in an apple orchard, you go and pluck apples. And like, you think, this is free. Nothing is free. That's Mother Nature. They're trying to give you oxygen while you pump carbon dioxide back into her. While you make palatial mansions, you've completely wiped out forests. And you wonder, what is that leopard doing in my backyard? Where do you expect him to go? Be more empathetic. And when I say be more empathetic, be more kind, I do not mean be stupid. You don't have to sacrifice yourself for the greater good, but you can definitely be a part of it. Everyone's in a race to overtake everyone else. I've yet to see people hold hands and march forward together as one. Trust me, when that happens, not only will you have a strong household, you'll also have a strong nation. With that, I think I'll close this little chapter of the human condition as I see it. And I urge all of you to look within yourselves tonight before you go to sleep. And over and above all, be grateful for what you have and don't complain about what your neighbor has. Jai Hind.